Hello, Hlynur. It is my great pleasure to welcome you on behalf of the New Horizons. Your two films were presented at the festival. It's one a feature-length film, Godland, and a short film, Nest, which I also very like. And I know that you wanted to come to Wrocław, but you couldn't make it.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I'll be there next time if you invite me again.
Hopefully. So maybe I want to start by asking about the contrasts in Godland, because there are so many of them. We go through like different seasons, and we definitely can feel the tension between the nature and culture, peace and violence, good and evil, and last but not least, Iceland and Denmark. And I just wonder, I mean, were all these aspects of your film planned from the beginning, or maybe there is some subconscious work behind like the process?
Yeah, I think there is a lot of things that that just reveal itself while doing the film. But I think the opposites that you're talking about, the contrasts, are something that drew me to the project. So it was one of the things that made me want to make it. So I was kind of because I'm from Iceland but lived in Denmark for many years. So yeah. I have both. I have both languages in me and both cultures, and you know, like with any culture or country, you sort of like things and you dislike things. And I always knew that I wanted to make a film that was about that was about these two countries, and also about the language, the source of misunderstanding, these very different landscapes, different temperaments, like the tempers of the weather, etc., etc. So there are like all of these elements, these opposites that I wanted to work with. And that were a big, like, how do you say it, drive. Like you kind of need like an everyday drive while working on something. And I think that was one of the like everyday drive for me to sort of keep working on it, you know, because I was working on it for a long time. Yeah.
How much actually time did it take you to make this film? Because as far as I know, you like slow pace.
Yeah, I mean, I think filmmaking is, or for my taste, very fast today. But you know, I think you know, if you've been working on a project for a very long time, often when you start shooting it, it's supposed to take very little time shooting it, and even the post process is supposed to happen like very quickly. And that's like my personal opinion, and it's kind of against the medium of film. You know, film is time. You know, the film medium is time, and that's what you're working with. Time. You have a certain amount of time you're working with, and I kind of like to draw that time out and have as much, you know, time as possible to sort of to allow the film to kind of find itself. So I think I started working on the project like very practically in 2014, and then I started shooting a couple of scenes in the film probably 2 years prior to the principal photography. So it was like a long process, and it was, I really enjoyed it because the film was also kind of trying, or like finding itself, you know. I think the version you saw now in Wrocław is quite different from the first draft that I wrote in 2014. There has been like a transformation during that time, which is an interesting process. Yeah.
Actually, I would like to ask about the topic you just mentioned, but maybe if you could also tell us a bit about this uneasy history between Denmark and Iceland, because it's very uneasy in your film.
Yeah, I mean, uneasy is a good word, because I mean, because I think there are a lot of the relationship between different countries can be like very dramatic. The relationship between Iceland and Denmark, and also the way that we got independence from Denmark, is very undramatic. And not even you know, a drop of blood was spilled getting our independence, which is, I think, also worth exploring and very interesting. So there is like a lack of drama in a way, but there's a lot of things boiling underneath that I really thought were interesting. And I think it was more like those little effortless things that I was interested in. When you read like books and letters from the time, during that time, you see that there's a lot of things going on underneath. For example, I will give you an example. I was reading letters from ships that sailed from Denmark to Iceland, and the captains and the crew were Danish, and they were sort of talking about the Icelandic people that they were transporting from country to country, and they're like sort of how disgusted they were with like the way they smelled or the way they looked, or et cetera, et cetera. So there are a lot of things underneath, boiling underneath, and which was really, which I connected very, which felt like very like, how can I say it, basic, or like there were a lot of things to sort of grab that were very effortless and interesting, and things that I hadn't really seen before, you know, in the cinema I had seen, you know, and I hadn't really seen any film that really connected these two countries together, and so I thought that might be interesting to explore.
Well, actually,
Yeah.
I just thought that that this sudden eruption of violence is actually a recurring motif of your films in the previous one as well. And I was wondering, I remember when I was watching your previous film and this one, where this violence come from, because my image of Iceland are these peaceful, beautiful landscapes, and I can't remember of any terrorist attack in Iceland. So where does this violence come from?
I think I think history, you know, if you look at history, there is a lot of violence in us as human beings, and I think Icelanders are no different. You know, during the Viking Age, we were quite violent people. You know, these kind of Viking trips were basically just brutal trips where we were pillaged and raped and stole people and turned them to slaves. So there's a lot of, but I also, that's, I mean, that's going very, very far back, of course. But I think there is a dark side to everybody, and there's definitely a dark side to because you name the landscapes, the beautiful landscapes.
Yeah.
There's also like, I think Iceland is shaped by the weather, and the weather can be very brutal and very unforgiving. And that's how I experience also Iceland now. It is quite a harsh land, and it was like almost, and a lot of people, it has always been said that it's like almost impossible to live here in a way because of the weather. That has been the story that has been told for many, many years. But there's also beauty in that. There's also it's almost like Iceland is kind of new. It's like a new land in a way. And there's a lot of beauty in that, you know. I mean, for example, now we're having a volcano again. Now we we had that again 2 years ago that I filmed, and then again now.
Well, we definitely could see the beauty, and the cruelty of the nature in actually both of your films. I mean, we could also see that in Nest, which is a very simple film. I mean, it seems very simple, but I can imagine it also took you some time to capture like these moments.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, I made Nest because the process of making a feature like Godland. Godland is quite, in a way, you know, a contrast to Nest, because Godland is so epic in a way. It's like, it's very big, and I mean, for me, it's big. I mean, hopefully, it's an effortless film.
It is. I mean, when
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it took me a long time to make it, and it was like it was very difficult to make. It was large in scale for us as filmmakers, and it took a long time to get ready. And I wanted to do something that was opposite to that. I wanted to do something where the space between an idea and the space between you know, shooting it or exploring it or testing it or trying it was very small. So I could be here at home and then get an idea and then go out in the garden and just do it. And that was something, you know, the immediacy of it was something that I thought was very exciting for me after the process of Godland, while I was doing Godland. So that's sort of what Nest is. Nest is like this immediate experience. It's drawn over a long period of time, and there's no heavy, you know, plot, or there's no heavy story I have to sort of tell. It's more free. It was extremely nice for me to explore that, and also to spend time with my kids. And just do something fun together, you know. So it was all of these things, and also just exploring the form of like a narrative, like, because I'm always like sort of trying to find a narrative that I'm interested in, because there is a traditional narrative, a classical one that, you know, I enjoy as a human being, but there's also another one that is, you know, I think I'm always exploring trying to find like my own language or the way I see or hear things, and I'm trying to try to explore that narrative and see if that kind of fits, if you can bend it or make a different one, you know.
Because we started our conversation and about time actually, and I really wonder in which way time is your tool as a director. Do you treat it as a tool in your filmmaking in a way?
Yeah, I think time and rhythm is something that that I really explore or use. I think it's important for me to know, like, when does this film take place? You know, when does this scene take place? Like, what is the season, basically? Because it shapes a lot. It shapes a lot the scene. It shapes the atmosphere. It shapes the narrative. And I also have to sort of put the film on the wall, so I can sort of go through the film or go through the rhythm of the film. I think that's always been important for me to feel the rhythm of the film, to sort of almost pre-edit it in my mind, but not meaning that the editing isn't important. I mean, the editing is extremely important, and I mean, me and my editor Julius, who edited all my films, everything I do, the process with him is like one of the most important processes I have, you know, while making a film. Finding the rhythm there is is very important. But yeah, I do think rhythm and what did you say? Time is
Yeah.
like is a huge part of my whole process. Yeah.
Mhm. It's not that obvious because nowadays I think that the sudden effects of filmmaking is a huge production value, and you are working in completely different way. And I wonder, how do you deal with this when we consider like production aspects of making the film that is being produced by years,
Mhm.
for years?
I mean, I'm basically I have a very tight crew, and I have a very good relationship with my producers, and we have found a way to sort of work together. We enjoy, each other's company, and we're not working on one project. We're not thinking about just making one project, but we're thinking of like, okay, how can we make our daily life, part of the process, not only working on one project, but like working on a body of work. Like if an idea comes that is a short film, then let's make it, let's try to find money. And if we don't find money, let's shoot it, anyways. And if a narrative, emerges that is longer, like that feels like a feature length, then let's develop that and try to find money for that. So I think we are sort of trying to find a way to work the way we want to work, but we're basically in the process of it. We're trying to figure it out. It is, of course, survival. I mean, we're just trying to survive, but do the things we love to do. It's not like we found some great way of doing it. We're still like surviving, but I think the way we do it is to have parallel projects, like to always be working on 3 or 4 projects, and that way give it time. That way working on one project for a while, and then maybe shooting a little bit every week. So it's kind of like, the short answer would be just to, how can we make our daily life interesting? How can we shoot a little bit every week? How can we develop and prep and write a little bit every week? How can we have this daily routine just a little more free, And also just, and what I love about the process is that that you kind of react to what's going on. It's like, for example, today it's raining a lot. Then I can think like, okay, maybe we should make a scene in rain for this project, or maybe I should film a little bit of the landscape for the other project. Or so it's kind of, I'm reacting to what's going on, and I really like that feeling of reacting, and the weather sort of deciding what I should do in a way.
I can imagine that all this that you're talking about, that this production style wouldn't be possible without, well, devoted crew, that's for sure, but also the cast. I mean, there are also your actors are actually recurring in all your films, I think. I mean, most of them, as far as I know. And especially Ingvar Sirgu Rosson he's a marvelous actor. I really admire his work. So can you tell us a bit about it? Because it seems to me that you must have like a good relationship there must be some relationships if you want to do a film in such a way as you do.
Yeah, I mean, I have a very, very good relationship with Ingvar and Elliot and my actors, and in the form of, like, if we just take Ingvar for an example, I have, all of the roles he has been part of have been like written for him. So they've like, I've told him very early on, I'm thinking about writing about this, and I think I think you are Ingimundur, and is that okay? And would you be interested? And he's both Ingvar and Elliot actually are very good readers for me. They are extremely good readers for me, and they're extremely good energy for me to try to write something interesting. I don't see myself as a good writer. I really don't. But I do feel I can write if I work on something for a really long time. I sort of hear it. I sort of hear what they say, and I sort of see what goes on. So it's more like I write what I hear and see, but I'm not like, I don't see myself as a very good writer. But I'm sort of, I can, yeah, if I sort of get lost in the project, I can hear it and see it. And I think they're just really good readers. They sort of, yeah, push me to write something better. And I always like having that kind of energy, kind of knowing who it is and wanting to surprise that individual, you know, or a friend, you know, wanting them to find the project interesting, and also just pushing it to the edge, or like really trying to do something that I feel is kind of interesting, or a little bit scary and strange, and all of these different feelings, you know. Does that make sense?
Yes, definitely. And I think it confirms my intuition that, you know, good cinema is based on good relationships. I mean, because it's it's always work with people. So it seems that you are a great example of that. I mean, your cinema is a great example for that.
Yeah, I think, but I think because I think it's very, I think my cinema is so homemade. It's so like, it's so homemade that it's like you have to have a good atmosphere on set, because it really reflects, or it really, you know, if you want, I think we're trying to make like effortless, raw, emotional cinema, but at the same time there has to be like, yeah, we want it to be intense, but there has to be a feeling of friendship and fun during the making of it. I mean, otherwise otherwise I don't know if I could, you know, when we stop shooting a film, I don't know if I could be able to sort of prep another one, you know, because then I would probably be so drained and miserable. I wouldn't want to make another one, you know. But if you make it with friends and fellow filmmakers that you really adore, you're kind of looking forward to meeting them again, and you're looking forward to sort of take the next step, like going even deeper. And I think that that's what I'm trying with, for example, Ingvar and Elliot, and also my daughter that is sort of has been in now a couple of projects. It's sort of like going deeper with someone and trying new stuff. It's just a lot of fun. Yeah.
Hlynur, thank you for your films, and I'm very glad that we could present your films at the festivals. I hope that next edition will allow for your personal visit, and that we could talk in person.
Absolutely. Let's do that next time. Very nice talking to you.
Thank you very much.